So today I want to show you how many files go into making a book, how many revisions are involved, and how long the process kind of takes, just to give you an idea. So with Play It Away, the book that I just released, I started off by dividing it into chapters and just little mini sections, and I would just make a Word document for each of them. So for the introduction, I put that together, I wrote that, and then my story, I wrote that. As you can see, it's not very long. The longest section was, or the longest document was called The Cure. Then I came up with ground rules, a menu, which was my longest one by far, and that was a culmination of me coming up with basically trying to remember every technique that worked, and then just listing them out and elaborating on them. And then there was another section I just called elimination, or identify and eliminate your top sources of stress. And then I had my weekly routine that I typed out. It doesn't look formatted there. And then I had a final page where I would tell people, I'd give them a call to action and tell them something to do. Then I had the acknowledgments, which I won't reveal there because it's kind of cool in the book, I guess. We're checking out. And about the author, I didn't even write that. I just wrote like what I needed to do. And then a last page of just the copyright information that I wanted. So that was like the beginning structure of the book. And I started that in September of 2013, and now it's February of 2014. I just came out with the book, and I'm actually in the middle of finishing up the design for the paperback and the Kindle versions. So I'm going to show you the next progression of the work, which was I compiled it into a actually it's in this. I compiled it into a Pages document, and in the Pages document I took all the Word documents that I had and just put them into a nice flowing document, right? And that's what I worked out of. I worked out of Pages because Word was kind of driving me crazy. It's just not a very well designed interface. It's not very pretty. And I like Pages a lot, so I was working out of Pages. And then after that, the next thing I did was I gave that Pages document to a bunch of my readers, and their names are listed on here because I sent them the PDF of the Pages document, and they would send me their notes. And I would just go through all their feedback and read it, and make that into one long running document. I didn't really care who the feedback was from, so I just mixed it all together and took notes on the feedback that I kept seeing consistently. And you can see here, like some of the PDFs were different from others that I sent to other readers, because I was giving, some I would give one version, another I would give another version, just to see how they would react and what they thought. Some people would send me their thoughts in a document, but yeah. So I got feedback from a bunch of readers, and then I took all that and made it into the next version of the book. And that was the one that I delivered to my designer, who was Aaron Tyler, and I packaged all of that up. Erin helped me with the PDF. She wasn't able to help me with the paperback and the Kindle because she was so busy. But she helped me last year design the PDF, and I gave her all this stuff. Which was, I have the acknowledgments, which are handwritten in the book. I gave her the Pages document. I gave her all the pictures that are included. Oh, I actually got rid of these. So that was in an older version. and I gave her all the pictures in the book, an author photo, and then the barcode with the ISBN number on it, which is important to have, obviously. I should say, it's important to get that through Bowker, BOWKER.com, rather than CreateSpace. And the reason you need to get it through Bowker, this is just a side note, technical, is because if you get it through Bowker, you can list the book on all these other platforms, such as iBook, or in physical stores. Whereas if you get it through CreateSpace, your book is technically owned by CreateSpace and Amazon, so you can only list it there. It's a really devious kind of underhanded thing that most authors don't know, but you need to get your ISBN and barcode from a third-party service, not straight through CreateSpace. So I gave Erin all of that, and then what she did was she took all of that, she took my Pages document and turned it into an InDesign document. And she made it into a PDF, which is 8.5 by 11 inches, so a regular normal piece of paper. And this is the reason I did an 8.5 by 11 or a PDF is because when I surveyed readers, I surveyed thousands of people, and the vast majority, like 40%, said they preferred to have a PDF. I don't know why. It's a more flexible format, I guess. I didn't know people liked reading the PDF, or preferred reading a PDF. I much prefer having a physical book. So I decided to come out with the PDF first. And so this is what an InDesign file looks like. And you'll notice in the InDesign file, let's see, so like, oh, whoops. How do I zoom in? All right. So each of these page numbers are custom, like they're not automatically put in. They're their own little elements. So each one has to be hand typed. So for every page. And the InDesign is really, really nice in terms of making books, but it's also an enormous pain. It's not an automatic process like Pages or Word, where the next page just continues naturally. Like if you adjust this, the text goes away and it doesn't go on to the next page, or it does go on to the next page, but it creates a whole new page. So it's just like, it's a really, you need a professional. You need somebody who's done a ton of work in InDesign and knows how to use it really, really quickly, and can go through and make changes really fast. Because if you try and do this on your own, first of all, it's a professional software that costs hundreds of dollars to get, but it's just going to take you forever. And it's totally worth it to hire a professional. I hired a professional named Lacey O'Connor through Elance, and she's costing me roughly $200 to take this 8.5 by 11 document and turning it into the paperback, which is 5 by 8 inches. And that's, for me, if I tried to do that, that would have taken me days. It would have been an enormous undertaking for me because everything has to be changed. All of the text has to be condensed, and that might not seem like a big deal, but it actually is, because it changes the structure on every single page, and all of these elements have to be rearranged and put in different places. And it's just a nightmare to do. So I'm just scrolling through the book to kind of give you, the PDF is about 140 pages or so. And I just wanted to show you how certain things are structured, because it gives you an idea. Like, you'll see all these little nuances in the design. You know, those are made to make the reading experience really nice for the reader, but for the InDesigner, the person, for Lacey, who has to go through and change all of this, and make it consistent for a completely different dimensions. It seems like a subtle thing you wouldn't ever notice, but for her, it's a ton of work. So yeah, I mean, making these lists into 2 columns instead of 3. These gray boxes here, they're made to distinguish, which, by the way, I stole the gray box concept from The 4-Hour Body by Tim Ferriss because I really liked how that book was laid out. But having these gray boxes in the paperback, that it's much tougher to do. You see how there's like ample room on both sides. There's like 2 margins basically for the white and the gray space, but there's, you know, in the 5x8, that's not very much room. So I'll show you in a second what I'm having to correct with Lacey's changes. But so Erin and I, you know, had to review this and go through it a bunch of times last year, and it was just, it's a ton of work because there are so many little things that you make mistakes on. And fortunately, Erin did this stuff super, super fast, and she's really, really good at it. But there are so many little tiny details. I'm trying to think of some. Just it's just crazy. Like even the footnotes are like just add up. You know, if you change one thing on one page that disrupts the flow of the pages after it, then you have to make sure that all the pictures are in the right spot. You have to go back and individually change all the footnotes, all the pictures, and put them in their right place. And it's just a ton of details, and it takes a long time. You really have to be a perfectionist to kind of notice all this stuff because things get misplaced and they get put out of order. So that's the InDesign file. And now what Lacey's doing is, I also wanted to show you this. So I started this book in September, like I said, and I was emailing myself revisions. I was emailing myself not only backups, but updates. So every day I'd make major revisions, and just to show you, like, you know, this was how many times I was emailing myself. I was just sending myself new copies of the book all the time, you know, just to make sure I didn't lose them, or didn't lose that data. And yeah, I guess it wasn't as much as I thought. But yeah, it was just constantly revising the book. So now what I'm doing is I'm going through Lacey's revisions. She'll send me, you know, like, well, let me see, what was the first one she sent me? I don't know if I got rid of the, she sent me one that was all off, like the first page was wrong. I may have deleted it. But basically, so now you can see the book is, so this is how I'm sending her feedback. I'm making notes. And the way I do that, it's really easy. A lot of people don't know this feature, is you hit annotate, and then you hit this little exclamation box in the corner, and then you can go like this and blah, 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 make notes. And it's nice and easy. You can drag them around. You can delete them real easily. I find it much nicer and faster than track changes in Word. So yeah, so now the book is in black and white. This is the paperback. And I'm basically having to go through and, you know, I'll make really tiny, minute details. I have to notice everything. You know, I caught 3 instances today of periods missing in footnotes. And like, it's a little thing, but it adds up. And these are rounds and rounds and rounds of this, making sure we get everything right. And that, you know, when you're working with someone new, Lacey's in Ireland. So, you know, she and I have never met. We just had a phone conversation before I hired her just to make sure she was a good fit and had really had a lot of experience in this stuff. But again, there's all these little details that get lost in the mix because it's such a tedious job that when she pastes this from the 8.5 by 11 InDesign document and puts it in the 5 by 8 document, you know, like the spacing here, it gets messed up. So that needs to be fixed, which it already was. But like I'm just showing you, this was one round of revisions. And then she sent, you know, this was the next round with everything fixed, and just back and forth, all the ones, you know, I made a ton of notes in this one. I'll just show you. You can see on the side all the yellow notes for each of these sections. I was just catching a ton of stuff, and it took me hours. And this, again, keep in mind, this is in the final stages. The book is done. All the edits, all the major edits have been made. This is just getting the formatting right, so it's a beautiful book that's really easy to read and is a pleasurable experience for the reader. So that's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to show you guys. There's a lot that goes into this, and it takes a lot of time, but it's so worth it in the end when you have a beautiful book that is really nice and smooth to read for the reader, and your message isn't distracted. It isn't obscured by design. The design enhances it, and you know, there's really subtle things in the design that only I will notice, but I think will make a bigger impact. For instance, you know, just having a single word come on the next line or on the next page rather than being on the previous line or the previous page can make a stronger impact on the reader while they're reading it. And they wouldn't notice that, you know, unless we'd made that change on the back end, or they'll never notice that. But it's like an important thing to me in the designer. And yeah, so that's it. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you don't think I'm a crazy perfectionist OCD person, even though I am. So yeah, take care. Check out the book.